face front true believers. Welcome to the Pitch Nerds. We are the weekly show where two nerds roll out of bed and put on their newest bucket hat to bring you the latest nerdy news, reviews, and pitch things occasionally. I'm Cap, as always, with me, best friend, fellow nerd, and troll doll enthusiast, Mr. Frosty. Mr. Frosty, how are you doing this fine morning? It is cold for May. Grumble noises. It's so freaking cold.
I am jealous
weird.
of the hair that the truffle dolls get to sport. I was robbed of.
These little bastards. So
I guess I've got that, but it's just
yeah, it's
backwards,
it's this way. There we go. Anyways, hi. Oh my goodness, what are we talking about today? I saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I have some things to say. The internet seems split on this, as it always is, but
well, not really though. I mean, okay, yeah, you're gonna always find. I think you get a small group of people, and like,
right.
yeah, but it's a small group because if you look at like all the review sites, it crushed it with audiences, and then you look at all the critics, and it crushed it with critics. So this movie is dominating, and it's also making money,
right?
And so yeah, like to say the internet is split on it, I don't know if is correct.
Well,
I think
apparently,
if you're on Twitter or Facebook, then sure.
Well, apparently because of the weak box office opening, they lowered the box office expectation from like 150 million to like 120 million, and it looks like as of yesterday it was only at 110 million. So, oh my goodness, Marvel is tanking, rabble. So, yes.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the box office number. I sort of have because I mean I follow Film Something or Other on our Twitter site,
right?
And yeah, it looked like it was doing well from what I could tell. It definitely was doing well as far as critics and audience.
Oh, it's great movie. Yeah, really like this movie, but we'll talk about that. Battle nerds, my goodness, Optimus Prime versus Rogue, the long-awaited battle. The internet has been rambling for since, my goodness, 95. Yes.
I don't know. Oh, my cat started up. So he missed his playtime. I apologize.
No,
I
had to give Luna a little chew toy. She's over here.
If only a chew toy would satisfy Brimstone. But yeah, he normally gets his playtime at 9 before the show, but my body was rejecting 9 a.m. and then it continued. I struggled, man. I was like, it's 10. Like you know, like evil me pops out and he's like, just tell them you're not well. I'm like, no, evil me. But yeah, so I made it. So yes. There you go.
Was it with The Simpsons where Homer turns up the heater and he's just like a toasted cinnamon roll?
Here we are. Opening weekend, 202 million worldwide.
Okay.
Opening weekend, domestic, 115 million.
Okay. Oh, but they lowered it from 150 million, rabble.
I know, but less people are going to movies. So it's like, you know, I mean, like
I know, but that is the noise of the ether. That it's just there's amusement in it.
It's all these people that hate James Gunn because the whole Superman and they want the Snyderverse and da.
So you know what's funny about this one is that nobody's attacking it for being woke, and I love it.
There was a thing. There was okay, but see, they're attacking it because it's not. It sounds stupid. There's a guy who was talking about, oh, you know what's amazing about this movie is it's not woke and blah 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 blah. And then I hate that. Just oh god, the whole woke thing. Just I don't even like talking about it anymore.
Right.
But then someone repost. They've been reposting that all over Twitter. This guy and going, oh, so if a movie's best quality is it's not woke, then you know it's dog shit. And it's just like, yeah, they're just looking for reasons to hate anything that James Gunn does. Like, honestly, I don't care if James Gunn's Superman is good. I just want it to do so well box office wise that like it crushes everything that's ever existed for all time.
As
Even if I
Superman
hate
would.
the movie.
As Superman would.
Well, even if I hate the movie, just so I can be like, ha 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 ha, ha. You know, like
It's coming,
I don't
Frosty.
know. I'm just
It's
tired.
coming.
I'm tired. I'm tired of it. You know, it dominates everything on social media. I'm tired of it. But
Right.
anyway,
Rabble, rabble.
there
Um, God, there's nothing on right now.
is not.
There's nothing on.
I mean, there's stuff. There's always stuff, but I mean, how much are you gonna watch? You know what? Okay, do you know about this?
Mm.
I actually asked some of our anime nerds on Twitter. All of anime has turned into like teenager with a specific quirk of some kind, or
Mm-hmm.
there's like there's something, right? Like I was a handyman
Right.
in another world, which is basically Dungeons and Dragons world.
Right.
All of anime is that right now.
Okay.
All of it.
Okay.
Subscribe to Crunchyroll, and it's this person with this thing in another world. This person, I died and I went to another world, and because of this, and like it,
Mm.
that's all anime right now.
Yes.
And I'm not joking. I am not joking. And I asked our anime nerds, because I was like, when did this happen? Stop! What are you doing? And they said, yeah, that happened about 2016. And I was like, so okay, it isn't just me. Even the anime nerds themselves know this. There's a word for it. I'm blanking on it.
So I would say Dot Hack was like the first one to dive into that sort of premise, like a little bit deeper, because that was one with the like their avatar selves. And then there's that one. God, I wanted to like it, and it was just awful. Sword art online. I really wanted to like that anime, but they would allude to these big battles, and then you would never see them. They would have them off screen, and then it just like I want to see the battles. I want to see the front lines. Like I don't want to see an episode where they're trying to disrobe their avatars. It's weird.
Yeah, the well anyway, so I every once in a while I go into anime just as something to watch for a little bit while I'm at dialysis.
Mm,
And I watch it for a little bit, and then I get bored, and then I move on, and I not that I mean I enjoy anime, but to an extent, you know, like
right.
but all of those things, it's all you find right now, and some of them are good, some of them are bad, whatever. I found one though, and I was like, "That's a stupid premise." It's called Handyman Saito in Another World, and I'm like, and the whole thing is, it's like he was a handyman in our world,
Mm-hmm.
but I guess in Japan people were like, "Oh, I don't care," and he was like, "Oh," and that's like the premise is he's sad because nobody needs him because he's just a handyman.
So isn't that just like was it Wario or like Waluigi? Like
Yeah, I never thought about it, but yeah, you're right. I mean, that is like a what
it's
is
like an
it? A
Elseworld
blue
fucking
collar
Mario.
job, yeah.
My
But
God.
anyway, he gets sucked into this other world, and he hangs out with his D&D group, and they go through Labyrinth together. But because he was a handyman, he's good at picking locks and stuff, and
Okay.
fixing their armor and stuff. And he feels bad because he's not like doesn't have powers, but they all are like, "Oh no, you're super helpful." And yeah, that's the whole premise. It's a good little show. Like the way because they introduce all these interesting characters,
Mm,
like the ninja, and then you're like, "Well, that ninja's cool." And then the witch that lived for 400 years, and you're like, "That's cool." And you're
right.
like, "Where does this character?" Because it's non-linear with these introductions. They just introduce you to this character,
Right.
and that's it. And then all of a sudden they're all tied together for a complete story.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought like that's a really cool little trait, you know, like the way they tell their story is interesting. And all of a sudden you don't care that he's just this handyman dude that's his only ability. So they do what the characters in the show do. I
God,
don't know, I
see,
thought it was a really good anime. I
see,
highly recommend
I would
picking it
love
up.
Quantum to be something like that. It sounds something akin to what I have in my head when it comes to a little quantum thing here. That's cool. It's sort of
Yeah,
just it's some people don't have superpowers, but they're good at something. And then what happens if you're to just kind of nurture that, just feather it with a little bit of, I
well,
don't
like
know.
they have like an interesting plot thing. I thought they do is they have a wizard with them,
Mm,
and he's stupid powerful,
mm.
but he forgot most of his stuff because he's
Oh,
kind of senile, and so he doesn't remember the incantations for the spells.
oh, that
And
sucks.
so the handyman guy just memorized all the spells for him. And then so when the wizard's like, he just starts reciting the spell, and then the wizard can cast the spell. So like,
A true
and
handyman.
yeah, it's stuff like that. It's kind of interesting. So because the handyman himself has zero magic power since he's from our world, so he can't learn
So
to be
you
a
don't.
wizard.
So okay, hear me out. This sounds like, if you were to frame it slightly, R2D2, the Star Wars like something like an R2D2 adventure. Have the handyman be R2D2. I mean,
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
he's the toolkit. It's like
Yeah, it
wait for the
is very
nod.
much like, hey, let's make a show about the what's that word? The utility character.
Right.
Which is
That's
kind of
interesting.
interesting when you frame it that way. But the one of these shows I know you would dig, well, I think you would dig, is there's the character he gets sucked into the other world or whatever,
Mm,
and him and his whole high school, but they're on a bridge and or something, and then he gets dropped too far down into the dungeon, and then his only power is he can turn like stuff into other stuff, which he thinks is shit. To me, that sounds awesome, but whatever. He makes a tunnel and to hide from the monsters, but the only thing keeping him alive is this drip of water. I don't know. But the whole point is he finds if he eats meat, because he kills a monster and eats its meat, he
mm,
gains its power. And he
okay.
keeps doing that and doing that and doing that because he fell at the bottom of the dungeon. He eats the entire bottom dungeon.
Mm,
And he ends up like making with his power, making like a robot arm and guns and like special bullets and stuff like that. And so
nice.
and then as the anime progresses, he's like cruising around in ATVs and stuff like that.
Mm.
And yeah, it's a pretty cool one actually. I can't remember what that one is. It's like from world's weakest to world's strongest in another world or something. Oh,
so
from
the
commonplace to world's strongest. That's what it's called.
the one that Little Cap and I got into was Promise Neverland. Um, Interesting premise, and apparently, like, so we finished the first season, but the second season did what some animes do, where they just deviate so hard from the manga that it just upsets everybody. So that's sort of the fans don't really care for that one. But the first season, if you want like an interesting anime, just universe, you have an orphanage with these kids, and they're essentially being harvested for meat for demons that have taken over the world. And they figure out about this, and they utilize like schoolyard tactics, like playing hide and go seek, to figure out a way to get out of the complex and into the real world. And once they hit a certain age, they removed from the orphanage as if they're being adopted, but they're just taken to be eaten essentially for demons. So it's interesting. It's a really interesting universe. So,
But how does it fit into another world? Were they did when they died? Did they come here, or did a god take them here? And I only watch other world stuff now. Um,
hey, quantum isn't otherworld stuff. I'll take it. Um, Captain N the Game Master is a good otherworld.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just the sheer number. Like I was once the weakest, now I'm the strongest in another world. I'm in another world with my smartphone. That's actually one. I brought my smartphone to another world or something like that. And then because he has like this god gives him powers to allow him to still use his smartphone, he like he's like, hey, G word, like translate this, and then it like translates their text for him and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So dumb. Um, anyway, what do anyone listening or that's gonna listen? Let me know what you think of this trend in anime. I'm intrigued by it. How like just it's just every show. Like no joke. Go on to Crunchyroll after this cap and just look at like click on browse and you'll just see in another world. I was reincarnated as this in another world.
The colors are too bright. I don't like that app. The colors are too just ah.
You could probably set it to dark mode. Anyway, let's get on to nerdy news because we're running late already.
Yes.
Oh, I'm tired. All right, so James Gunn was asked if any of the Guardians of the Galaxy cast will be in Superman Legacy. He responded, "Yes." Which, I mean, that makes sense to me. Directors like to work with the same kind of people in most of their things because they already know how that person works, and so.
So what he's saying is his brother will return in a mocap suit. Yeah, that's expected.
Well, so I mean, like, okay, who do we got? We got Olsen. Like, definite characters probably going to be Olsen, Lois, and Superman.
Hmm.
So, do we think any of those could be it from the Guardians cast?
What's her name? The actress who plays Nebula, Gillian.
Karen Gillian. Yeah.
I think she'd make a great Lois.
Yeah.
I can see that. Fiery
Who
redhead.
did she say she wanted to play Poison Ivy? Is what who she wants to play.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She'd be perfect for that.
Yeah, she's good. I like her. Anywho, what else we got? Okay, so the Duffer Brothers, which is leading to the main thing that's been happening the last week. Yeah, say that filming on Stranger Things season 5 will not begin until the writer's strike concludes with a fair deal. Direct quote. Writing does not stop when filming begins. We hope a fair deal is reached soon so we can all get back to work. Which obviously, yeah. So we have the writer's strike going on right now.
Right.
I read through their demands and like what the studio, the rejection and all that, and like, yeah, it seems like reasonable demands to me.
You know what's great is that Adam Conover is the voice of the movement. Did you know that? So
I know he's part of it, but yeah, I like reading some of their signs or picket signs. I find them funny, because they're writers, so,
of course.
But yeah, I'm very much in support of like their demands. It seems reasonable to me,
right?
And people are like, they're like, oh well, look at the quality of TV now. We live in the golden age of TV. Are you kidding me?
Right.
I know that a lot of it's not good, but like
the chunks will float to the surface. Like,
well, yeah, but that's because it's hard. I mean, like, think about it. If you look at all these like terrible, what are they called? Pilots that are out.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that made it to air. Think about like how many shitty ones that just thrown away. I mean, making TV is one of the hardest things you can do, and movies and all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, and then, but we also have some amazing content,
Right.
So yeah, I mean, like Stranger Things is a good example.
So good.
Anyway, so also in regards to the writer strike, Disney is demanding that showrunners work their non-writing duties during the writer strike, stating that they are required to do their duties even if the WGA attempts to fine you for performing such services during the strike.
The rat.
Yeah. Disney.
The rat. So this is when the writers, the clever bunch, will learn how to convey their disdain somewhere within the lines of whatever scripts you're asking them to write. That's how you get like the background shit.
Well, they're not. It's supposed to be their non-writing duties.
No.
Is what they're saying.
Okay.
But like they're saying you have to do it even if you're gonna get fined
No.
for doing it, which is where it's like that's not exactly cool.
Right.
Um,
Can they do
but
that?
it's what Disney's saying. I got this from what's it called, Discussing Film. So that's my source. If I'm wrong, they're the ones. They're usually pretty reliable.
Right.
Let's see what else. Besides the writer's strike, so we got some information. The problem with the writer's strike, though, is it's gonna suck. Like we won't feel it for like 6 months. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, there's just gonna be like nothing. I mean, unless late night, all of late night's down right now.
Oh, it sucks. Like that's our thing, Mrs. Cap and I. We like watching our nightlies.
Yeah, but and then in 6 months, like all our shows and movies and stuff are that's pretty much going away.
Right.
Because of this, you know. So the longer it goes on, the harder it's going to hit in about 6 months from now.
Right.
And then it's also going to delay all of like the upcoming Marvel and DC stuff that we're looking forward to.
So if you haven't seen it yet, look up the Adam Conover interview on CNN where he, live on air during this interview, called out the CEO for, I think he brought in like $250 million bonus to himself. And he said if you were to take that money and disperse it to the writers, that's exactly what they're asking for.
Yeah, I think I saw that. I mean, he's big on that. Did you ever watch his Conover show?
Adam Ruins Everything. And
yeah.
It's funny because he's openly talked about his experience with that. It's interesting. He's kind of gone and opened up his new channel now where he's just completely unfiltered, and it's kind of nice. But yeah,
I listened. I try and listen to both sides. Like, he definitely brings up a lot of interesting points. I was listening to a doctor who was kind of debunking his debunking show, and like, so I think he gets most stuff right, but you can, if you're really an expert. Same thing with Last Week Tonight. They kind of do that as well. Anyway, so back on the fun news. Secret Invasion apparently is inspired by The Third Man and Searches. As Nick moves through it, he walks out of a noir and into a western. He becomes the lone gunslinger walking down Main Street, looking for the bad guys to vanquish. Says Ali Selim. Okay. So that sounds pretty cool.
I like that. I was once a gunslinger.
I mean, Nick Fury is like a lone gunslinger. Like, that sounds dope. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. That sounds definitely different than the comics, but it still sounds really.
It's going to be like an urban western. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, the comics was very different though. That was where we had like both giant groups of superheroes. Like, we got to do this, you know. Like, oh man, it was good though. My favorite part was when they were like, because they made it, the scrolls were religious, and they were like, he loves you, you know. And then who? God. And then Fury's like, my God carries a hammer. Like, Thor was dead, I think, at that point, and then he showed up, and they were like, why are you here, Thor? And he's like, to turn the tide. Oh, I love Thor. Those are the moments of Thor where it gives me chills, where I'm like, yeah, this writer gets it, you know. Right. That's what Thor's meant to do. He's meant to show up and kick ass and then bounce out.
Right.
But yeah, and right at that right moment where it's like, oh, we're screwed. Yay, Thor's here. Now you're screwed, you know.
That one line from what was it? Infinity War, when the Hulkbuster showed up.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. When Thor showed up, and it's like, oh, you're so screwed now. His Thor is great.
Yeah, I was really hoping to see Hulk eventually Hulk out in the armor and then rip out of the Hulk Buster. I thought that was what they were gonna do,
Mm.
but then they didn't. And then he showed up in the next one as Professor Hulk, and everybody got upset because they didn't like Professor Hulk. But I love Professor Hulk.
Professor Hulk was great. Hulk
Yeah.
out.
And then I remember watching with my girlfriend at the time, and they were like, "Oh," and he's like, "Yeah, good Hulk, like smash." And he's like, "Rrr," and like pushes the car down.
uh, I rewatched that the other week. It's so good. It still gives me chills.
Yeah, it's a good movie. Um, let's see what else we got going on. Carl Urban is supposedly in final talks to play Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat 2. What do you think?
I I love this. I love him as an actor. I don't know. We'll see. He's a great actor. He's acted very well. This chin. Um, I don't know. He's a good actor. He wouldn't be my first choice, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't.
He's
I
a
don't.
good chin actor.
He's a fantastic chin actor. Um, yeah. I don't know. He's not my first pick. What do you think?
No, I mean he's fine. I mean obviously the one person he's too old to play him, but you would want is Jean Claude Van Damme.
Right.
But he's too old now.
Right.
Did you see him in Expendables 3? I think it was like, "Do not challenge me." He's like super takes off his sunglasses and you're like, "Oh man, that coke hit you hard, man."
Right.
Like,
He's got the Joker's eyes.
yeah, but he did a good job in that. I mean, I'm always happy to see. Like, I would if you were like, you know what, I would still watch it if you they were like, yeah, we're putting old ass fucking John Claude Van Damme in this. I'd be like, hell yeah, I'm gonna watch this.
Right. You know what I would
But
do? Because I thought about this. I would do an entire flip on the character and have Johnny Cage be almost like a Logan Paul type character where he's just like a wannabe and all he does is fight people that aren't skilled in what he's like he's a boxer. Why are you going up against a grappler?
you're killing the character though. Like
Like
it's
I get it. Like
you
have
don't care about Johnny Cage at all, and you just proved it in that sentence. And that's the problem with what you just described.
no.
Because then all the people that love Johnny Cage would be like, "What the crap? You just shat all over him." Um, yeah, that's. I mean, he's supposed to be he's supposed to be this character that's like, "Oh, I'm actually really good.
right.
I know his combat style, the green stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's because he's like tapped into some like god force or something like that."
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he can do all that. And then, but people were accusing him of just being, "Oh, you faked and your trophies are fake,"
Right.
but he
Right.
didn't.
Right. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. It is a twist to piss off the universe. I would make him be.
Yeah, I know. If your goal is to upset people, then congratulations. But that's why I wouldn't do that. Carl Urban, though, I think is fine. The only problem is he's not. I don't see him spin kicking and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Right. Like I feel
that,
like he would have to work out for something like that. Like he needs to, unless they just bring in the stunt cock.
he's more of a brawler, you know.
Yeah.
Let's see. Tony Gilroy says that the final 3 episodes of Andor season 2
Mm-hmm.
will cover the last 3 days before the events of Rogue One.
Okay. Cool.
So, which is interesting because that means it's going to be the end of that character, right? I mean,
Right.
we know what happens in Rogue One.
I want to see the Rogue One version of that bridges A New Hope to. I mean, not New Hope. Empire Strikes Back to Return of the Jedi. I want to hear the Bothan story. To just
Okay.
retell Rogue One. It's right there. They said it. Mon Mothma said it. I would love to see them explore that era because then it's them trying to. They're on the run from the Empire and they're trying to regroup, while at the same time trying to figure out what the hell is going on with.
I think pick another fairy tale group like they did with the Mandalorians and tell their story.
Mm.
Just another culture. I think that would be interesting. I don't know what culture, but pick one that sounds that it's in the lore that is interesting and tell their story.
The Ewok
Um,
Adventure.
yeah. So the oh, this is on speaking of Star Wars because we recently had Star Wars Day, May the 4th.
Yes.
Carrie Fisher on May the 4th was received her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Um, yeah, I think that was a good choice. It's about time. She definitely is a. I mean,
She's
the
an
woman
icon.
put on a gold bikini and changed the world.
Right.
like uh, she deserves her star.
So I was thinking about this the other day, and I know you hate the word, but if you were to take the original trilogy as is, and let's just say A New Hope, Princess Leia would be considered woke because she's a powerful woman from the get go. She's talking down to the fellas. She's strong. She's the leader, and just rabble rabble. That's woke. She was woke before woke was cool.
Yeah, it's just the reason I hate it is because it doesn't. It's meaningless. It's
Right.
pointless. It's stupid.
Right.
I mean, I was talking about a character that I came up with as a child, where it was an alien, and I had the idea of it being like treating the alien as an angel presence on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I thought, well, I'll make it androgynous, and then I had like this trans character,
Mm-hmm.
and then where I was describing it on this show, and I think you were like, well, that's popular right now, and then like it's just like both sides shut up and die. I'm just talking about making art, and I'm tired of it.
Right.
And it's just people are like, it doesn't matter what it is. That's like the whole, yeah. It's just like as if people weren't making political statements in art, and that's like all of a sudden new.
Right.
It's not
right.
new. It's been happening since like forever.
Right.
Yeah,
read anything.
Right now we're on this divisive point, and so like I understand that, like, but don't get mad at someone. It's the same as if someone made something on the other side of it.
Right.
It's like, yeah. Anyway, I mean,
So,
if you don't like the message, don't like the message, fine. But
so
whatever.
What's funny? There's a.
I mean, someone told me like, "Oh, I'm mad because my comics called me a Nazi now." Well, they've never called me a Nazi, so I don't know what to tell you, dude.
Right.
It's
like, point to the panel. But no, on your note, when writing Quantum, there is a character that just happened to turn out the same way, where it's just kind of androgynous. It's a them, it's a they, it's a collective. It's neither male nor female. It's just it's a they. It's a them, and that was just by how the creature just sort of formed in my head. It was just sort of a creative gel, and then poof, here's this character. So it.
like, the problem I find is like you'll be like something will happen in a movie and you'll be like, well, that's a little bit silly. And then all of a sudden you're surrounded by these people being like, correct, brother, join us. Now we hate the LGBTQ. And you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's not what I was saying.
Right.
And then and so it's like there's two of these extremes and you're just like, ah. And
Right.
I just hate it all. And like, there was another example that popped into my head. Oh, Heavy Metal Magazine. I used to love Heavy Metal Magazine, and then I bought a subscription for a while again because I was an adult with a job and I had money all of a sudden.
Right.
And so it had changed. And I was like, oh, it's not as hardcore. And they were saying, and you can read editorials. They're like, well, we don't want that kind of fan base anymore. And I can understand where some people are like, I'm mad. You know what I did? I just canceled my subscription.
Right.
You know, like, you know?
Just don't look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's other stuff. If I want like crazy, hardcore, over the top stuff, I'll read Elric. There's other stuff out there.
Right.
I mean, we live in a time where like we have like infinite stuff, and like you can find any of it. It's not hard.
Right.
Anyway, what else we got? Last thing. This is kind of interesting. The Slusho website, which was a viral marketing thing for Cloverfield,
Mm-hmm.
has mysteriously come back online. And I went to it, and sure enough, it's online.
Uh-oh.
What does that mean? What
Uh-oh.
movie are we getting?
What version of Cloverfield is it? What's his face again doing it? Who knows?
I don't know. All we know is that the website came back online for Slusho. Slusho is there?
No. But what's the name of the director? What's his face? Abrams, right? Abrams did Cloverfield.
For one of them, but there's other stuff in that universe. I mean, it's all connected. Did you not watch any of it?
No, I've seen them.
Like, because there was Cloverfield, then there was Cloverfield 2, and then there was
I like Cloverfield Lane
movie, which like you find out that it was like a paradox or something, and like that's what created it and sent it out, and then that's why we have these other things. I can't remember it. Do you remember though? The astronaut goes up, and then that's what causes it, or something like that.
Yeah, I saw that one once, and
the Cloverfield paradox. That's what creates it. Yeah, and then
Cloverfield Lane was the best one, I think.
I think the first one was the best one with the giant monster. I thought that one was pretty good.
Cool. For like an American low budget Godzilla, it was perfect.
Well, it was interesting to see a Godzilla movie from the ground level.
Yeah.
And then it was awesome. I mean, like tanks going by and stuff like that, and then those little things coming critters, out. Yeah. Yeah, it was there was something about it that felt realistic. And then the guy who was doing the camera, his name was HUD, heads up display.
Right. That's awesome.
But yeah. But anyway, I mean, yeah, I'm down for more Cloverfield stuff. Not all of it's great, but some of it's pretty good. So I'll watch it.
Interesting universe. I like it.
Yeah. And you can kind of take it wherever you want to.
Right.
But yeah, so that's really all I got in news. You got anything for us?
Nah. Just
all right.
Been one of those weeks.
Okay, so we got Behold Nerds or Battle Nerds. Take your pick.
Let's do Behold Nerds just because it's freshest in my mind.
All right, yes. So Behold Nerds is our book club of sorts. Basically, we take turns picking movies. Sometimes we take it from you guys. We usually have guests. They always get the right to choose the movie. Anyway, we take turns picking movies or TV shows. We watch them in the week leading up. We encourage you guys to. I know a couple of you guys mentioned that you're fans of this movie as well. So it was my pick, and as Kat picked Flight of the Navigator, a movie that shaped him from his childhood, I decided to pick a movie that shaped me from my childhood, The Beastmaster.
Yes.
So, Kat, this was your first time.
This was
really
my first viewing of Beastmaster. So, not that long ago, I picked a movie that also shaped me a little bit as a kid. Not so much as Flight of the Navigator, but The Last Starfighter. And I love this. I fucking love this movie. Frosty had never seen it, and his response was, So, this to me, but not in a bad way, I'm going to soften the blow. I feel like this to me is like your version of Flight of the Navigator, where I can see how it can resonate with Frosty and shape Frosty. It just doesn't tickle the same. It doesn't tickle me the same way as you, but I can see how it shapes you. And it has similar cheese where you have the like with The Last Starfighter, you have the female character that's just a little overcome by the protagonist, if you will. Um, but either way, but that aside, I enjoyed this movie. It was interesting. I liked that this guy
It
had
was hardcore. I can't believe you compare it to that movie though. It's like not
no, no,
even the
no. I'm
same.
not saying. I'm not saying that. I'm saying not as far as like the movies themselves is
Imagine you're 7 years old and you're sitting there and you're watching this guy throw a little baby into
into
a
a
fire
fire, and
pit.
then a big fucking eagle just comes and
Oh
goes,
no,
ah!
but you don't know that,
Right.
and you're sitting there watching it just like, oh my god, a baby, and then they're like, oh, I want your children, and then they rip a child.
out
Parents
of a
can't do anything
out
to
of a
protect them.
cow.
Take him up the pyramid, hold him up in the air, and you're like, oh my god. Throw the baby, and the baby's sitting there like screaming. Parents are crying over here. They're just get down there. And then this guy calls in his eagle to grab the baby, and you're like, oh and then all of a sudden, this is like the darkest, coolest shit you've ever seen in your life. Like,
Yes. Okay. So that right there is why I love this movie, because I can see how you can love this movie, and I can kind of feed off of that. Like
okay, but
it's so
question is it a good movie besides
yeah,
that?
no,
I
so
mean,
so is it a product of his era? Yes, but I enjoyed this movie. It was great. It was, oh god, he had his animal friends that they were fucking cool. Like I loved his little ferret friends, and then the one at
Kodo
the
and
end,
Podo,
oh,
yeah.
just that's
Um,
badass. And then
Okay, so a couple, but like, let's take away 7-year-old me's. So the villain was great. Rip Torn played
yeah,
him.
yeah. So Rip
He had the
Torn,
little beak nose,
yeah,
steals every scene. Total evil guy. You
right,
loved it. Um, the fight scenes themselves, they've aged.
a little bit,
Quite a bit. I mean, like compared to fight scenes today, like it's like it's more like
yeah,
watching a play.
right,
But it's fine.
right.
Then the score is brilliant. It was done by what's his name? Thought I wrote it. Oh, by Lee Holdridge. He's done a couple of other things, nothing, but he did a really good job in this movie.
Mm,
It lifts at the right moments, like the music. It's got a good theme to it. It
mm,
feels epic.
right.
Cinematography was done by John Alcott, which is 2001: Space Odyssey and The
So
Shining.
it's funny because you'd think now, because I was wondering this if they were using miniatures or not, but they had these aerial shots like sweeping through canyons and whatnot. And it was so
They
beautifully
didn't,
shot.
yeah. So
And
that it was filmed in Valley of Fire, Nevada, and it didn't really use a lot of special effects.
no,
There's a couple of miniatures and things like that, but yeah, for the most part, they didn't. I mean, they were like, "Oh, we need a panther, and just
this is painted tiger black.
paint a tiger black. That's fine." Like,
Yes, that right there.
um,
Mwah.
yeah, because well, they're easier to work with,
Right.
so that's why they did it.
Just
Uh,
bring it. We need another can.
yeah, Kodo and Podo, they're like, "We can't actually train ferrets. Yeah, we'll just hold food and we'll have them crawl towards it. That's fine."
Right.
But it worked. You fell in love with the animal characters.
Right.
And then the stuff in this movie that was scary was terrifying.
Right.
Come on. You're telling me those things that are all like, like
So
they're scary as crap.
so it was like some fleshy thing that hugged people and just and all
Yeah,
this green goo and shit. Oh, ah,
yeah, and the part where the witches are like ugly up top with the naked bodies,
right.
and everybody's ass is out in this movie, which
Oh,
is fun.
all the ass.
And then they transfer the baby into the cow and then slice open the cow and stuff. Like
Right.
there's some crazy stuff in this movie.
Right.
But yeah, I particularly like that. The what else? Oh, the S&M monsters with the gauntlets where they put the leech in their ear and
Oh,
stuff like that.
I didn't like
Uh,
that part. I try to forget
yeah,
that part.
I mean they're terrifying. Those are great bad guys.
Right.
And so the bad guys in this movie are great.
Rip Torn chews up
The
every scene that he's in.
Yeah, I mean his character in the prosthetic nose, so he had the Gargamel beak.
Yeah.
Apparently, he requested that. Yeah, so this movie was panned by critics at the time, but then it became a cult classic. It moved to television, and it was on HBO. And England, as well as a couple other places, got a very PG version of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw the full blown one with nudity and everything.
Right.
But yeah, it was pretty cool. So there was a sequel, Beastmaster 2, Through the Portal of Time,
Mm-hmm.
where they go through a portal into modern day. I mean, it would have been like late 80s, maybe early 90s Los Angeles.
Okay.
And I loved it as a kid, but I mean, I'm sure it's bad, you know? Like,
Oh
I
my
tried
God.
looking it up after this, and it's like you can't find it anywhere except like there's a cut on YouTube, which is terrible, like quality.
Oh my God.
But yeah, it was same actor
It's
though.
revisionist history. They're trying to just make sure nobody looks as they
Yeah,
slowly
well,
pull
so
it away.
then apparently there was also a Beastmaster 3. I never saw it. And then there was a Beastmaster TV series I did see.
Mm.
It was like kind of like the Kevin Sorbo Hercules show, but not as good.
Yeah.
And
I think I
that was
vaguely remember
already
that.
like blah quality, you know. Even at the time, you were like, "Yeah, these effects suck." Like
Right.
they like stabbing with a spear, and then it would like cut to the like the super computerized going against this super computer. Like you could see it was not even in the same universe.
Right. Just N64 graphics, essentially, is what it was.
Yeah. But yeah, so this movie is super close to my heart. I loved it. The animal aspect with him being out of control, the animals.
Right.
I loved how dark it was. And just like I felt like I was seeing something I shouldn't be allowed to see.
Right.
And like, yeah, I mean, they throw a child into fire at one point in this movie.
Yeah, that's pretty
And
brutal. Oh
it's
my
the
God.
first. It's John Wick before John Wick. His dog
Right.
gets killed, and then he's like by the Jungs, and he swears revenge.
Oh, but see, that dog was badass though, because even after being impaled with the bolt, he still managed to drag what's his name,
Dar.
Dar, manages to drag Dar to safety. So here's the thing. I wish I could have watched this movie with you. I bet I would have loved it more.
I loved it in rewatching it. I had
So,
such a good time. Like
I did. I liked the movie. I love the movie. It's my goodness gracious, this big fucking eagle just comes and saves a kid. Because I'm watching this like, how is this going to play out? Is this kid going to get just swallowed up by this fire? Like, what's the save here? And it's the fucking eagle. It's like, no, it's not going to be the eagle because how's that going to work? But sure as shit, eagle swoops in with
he wants your children, and then like
right, and then that's Rip Torn's like, oh, see, that's an omen. He wants your children.
The part that shocked me in rewatching it was I was like, oh man, he really just forced himself on her when he sees the female character.
Yeah,
like,
can't.
He just grabs her and he tries to trick her using the tiger. And they play it like a joke because the tiger's just like chilling and like
right.
It doesn't care.
It's a panther.
The final scene was cool. The big battle and stuff, and then obviously you find one of the ferrets you fall in love with dies, and
yeah.
But then there's babies, and then it in the later one it's the children. He has 2 more ferrets, but it's like he kept a couple of them or something like that.
Okay.
And then the tiger in the sequel is no longer black. They just decided not to spray paint this one. There's a rumor, and I always believed this as a kid, but I looked it up this time. I couldn't find out if it was true.
Mm.
But there's been a long running rumor that the tiger died because if you paint something, it can suffocate.
Right.
But I can't find anything to prove it. And apparently, the stuff kept coming off because it was water soluble. So anytime the tiger drank,
It would.
and so you could kind of see its stripes and stuff around its face.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna call BS on that rumor. Also, I didn't know this until I did some research on this movie for this. Um, Apparently, this is based on a novel, but the novel is set in a future world setting.
Mm.
But the guy who wanted to make this movie loved Conan and the Hyborian Age,
Mm.
so he took the character and he shifted settings.
Okay.
And it upset the novel writer so much she requested that her name not be associated with this movie.
Huh.
Well,
Well, damn.
yeah. This to me, this movie was my childhood. This is why I love animals, and I was like, I'm gonna be an animal scientist when I grow up, and all
Right.
this, or an animal handler, which didn't really happen. But I went
You
to
did
falconry
falconry.
school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned that. I learned horseback riding. I learned a little bit of sword play, all because of this movie.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved his sword in it. I thought that was the coolest sword. I liked the.
Yeah. What if that little, with the
Yeah, I
little
love
batarang
that
thing?
thing.
I love how
Yeah.
it was the old dude that was like the badass.
Well, it's kind of a trope of the media of the old
Yeah,
guy
the
takes
old
in the
man.
kid,
Yeah.
teaches him because he used to be like some badass soldier, but he's too old now.
Right.
So yeah, I thought the villain with the Juns was good because they were kind of faceless, but it didn't matter. They were just evil. But
Right.
yeah, man, I tell you those things with those things scared me so bad.
So
And the S&M monsters, like I thought they were terrifying.
So you know what's funny is I do have a creature like that in Quantum that has the blah, blah, blah power. My space worms, they have like an expandable pharynx that kind of does one of these movements, almost like one of those eels, those gulper eels. Kind of
Yeah.
has one of these motions and similar effect, just kind of blah blah blah. So I saw that, I was like, huh, that's cool. Like that's disgusting, but it's awesome.
Dude, they're terrifying. They're terrifying. The all the villains in this movie are so good,
Right.
and he did a good job. The actor that played Dar, he obviously got in a really good shape.
Right.
Because I mean, everybody's walking around with it. I'm not wearing pants now for this celebration. No, nobody's wearing pants in this movie.
There's
Everybody's
a lot
got their
of ass.
Yeah, like
There's a lot of ass.
and there is a lot of ass of like everybody. Like
So here's what I'm impressed by: the amount of times that they've rolled down like a dirt hill, like bare chested like that. That's gotta hurt. Like that's,
yeah. Apparently, it was really cold at night, and so they would like have to like run over and cover them in blankets in between scenes.
oh,
Shot for 8 million, and then I think they got 14 million back at the box office, so it didn't do great, but it went on to become a cult classic.
mm.
But yeah, so it's just shut up and take my money from me. This movie is, like I said, very near and dear to my heart. What's your rating?
It is a shut up and take my money. I love. See, and I knew that this would happen. I knew that I would watch the movie, I'd absorb it, I'd see all the things that I would knew that you would like, and then to be here and just see you be like, oh yeah, and there was this and this and yes, like that's where that's the savory bit for me. So it's one of those where I wish we could have found a way to watch this together, but it's cool because I got to experience the same, just like, oh yeah, and this and then the fucking fires and babies and shit. Like it's cool. God, the one scene that made me uncomfortable was when the ferret was in the quicksand.
Yeah, me too.
That made me uncomfortable because it's like, Artax, you're sinking.
Yeah,
Artax.
but he saves the ferret. But yeah, I felt bad like as a kid for the dog. I like the fact that there's an error in the movie, sort of, because the dog's laying next to him playing dead, but you can clearly see the dog breathing.
Yeah, I saw that.
Makes me
I
feel
saw
a little
that.
bit better.
I actually did notice that. But yeah, it is a shut up and take my money. I like this, so we're gonna continue the theme, I guess. Yeah, of
Okay.
the films that define us. Changing tracks. I know you like this movie. It's one of my favorite movies, and I'm actually wanting to see if there's a like back issue trades or something of it, so I could just see what the parallels are. The Mask. Jim Carrey. Fucking love this
Oh,
movie.
okay.
Fucking love this movie. Oh my
As
god, I
soon
love
as
this
you
movie.
say The Mask, my brain went the Cher movie,
Which one?
The Mask. You never saw that?
No, no, share.
So there's two The Masks.
Mm,
There's the Jim Carrey The Mask, which is based on a comic, which they changed a lot to make more children friendly.
right.
And then there's Cher and this guy called The Mask, and it's about she has a child with his face is deformed.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Rocky, and she's like in a biker gang, and like yeah, he goes to like a school for the blind because then he meets a girl, but then like her family is upset because he's so deformed, and he's
Oh,
gonna
I know that movie. Okay.
yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. The one
It
with
like
the
won
elephant.
awards
Yeah,
and stuff
the
like
elephant
that.
boy, man. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, they made fun of it on Family Guy.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Anyway, no,
all
not
right,
that one.
Mary the Mask.
No.
It was good. I guess the issue I have with the movie is I always think like it's so different from the comic, you know.
Yeah, but
And the sequel was terrible.
oh yeah,
Son
yeah.
of the Mask.
I didn't even bother seeing it, but I'm actually
I will pick it next.
no. But
No.
no, I love this movie. I think it's Jim Carrey's best performance. Because he's allowed to be the silly and the serious, and I actually like the serious more than I like the silly.
Yeah, it
It's
was like the first time the world really got what's her name?
Cameron Diaz,
Cameron Diaz, yeah.
right? So I know it's drastically different from the comic. I haven't read the comic, but I would like to see if there's some back issues. We're going to the
The
comic book store
comic is
today.
a lot like it's just darker, and like all the cartoon stuff he does, like he does that to people, but we don't have cartoon bodies, so we're
Right,
just destroyed in the process.
right.
Yeah, there's a lot of murder in it, and yeah. But okay, yeah, I'm down. What is it available on Prime or something?
It's been popping up. I think it's on HBO or Prime. Let me double
Okay.
check.
Watch the Mask, and then join us next week to discuss. Um, we jump all over the place in this, going from Beastmaster to the Mask. All right. Well, what
It's
else
on
we got?
it's on Hulu.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, we got Battle Nerds. Battle Nerds is we had a list of 100 characters. I think we're down to like 40 of them.
Mm-hmm.
We random roll to see who we get, and then we have to come up with an argument as to why our character would win a battle. The last matchup was Power Girl versus the ever loving Blue Eyed Thing. This was pretty hard for me as an argument for Ben Grimm. But we put up our polls afterwards on Twitter and Facebook, as well as you guys can just let us know. It was actually pretty close. Someone on Twitter commented, "What the hell? It's Power Girl! Like she scales to Superman."
Right.
And then I was like, "Yeah, you should check out the debate." I don't think they realized the debate, and so hopefully they checked it out. But yeah, that was the overcome thing. But Power Girl did win barely. I thought we were going to have a double KO,
You know
but
what?
she just
That I can see Ben Grimm going down, like just barely, just barely. Just
well. So she wins and she goes on. Ben Grimm sadly takes his leave. The first time fight for both of them. So now we got returning third with 3 victories under her belt. Rogue.
And first round winner ever of Battle Nerds between
it's
Rogue
true.
and Poison Ivy
Versus Optimus Prime, which Cap will be defending. I've decided to go with the 90s X-Men cartoon Rogue.
Okay.
Because I'm assuming you're going with the 80s cartoon.
Yeah, we're going to go battle with the cartoons. Why not?
Optimus Prime. So, Cap, why can't Optimus Prime take down our second place champion with 3 belts, 3 fights under her belt?
Oh my goodness. One shall stand, one shall fall. So here's
I don't know what that means, sugar. Damn. Just Optimus.
So here's the thing. Optimus Prime is a tank, and you can't really compare him to a Sentinel because he's not a Sentinel. He's Optimus Prime.
It's big robot.
He's a giant robot, but still. He has his energy axe. He has his energy mace weapons. He has his big like rifle blaster that he has. He too can fly, and he also has his.
It depends on who showed up for work.
Oh, God damn it, guys!
Yeah, sometimes they need like a ship. Sometimes whatever, they can fly right into space. Who cares? Like, it was lazy 80s cartoon writing.
So, on that note, I'm just going to go straight for the punchline here. So I can see the two of them throwing down, and Rogue is having to hit a little bit harder because, again, he's not a Sentinel. He's Optimus Prime. He's a lot more durable than the Sentinel. He can go toe-to-toe against Megatron and fucking Unicron and shit. So I can see this coming down to a standoff between the two of them, and they're both tired. And then Optimus Prime just whistles for his trailer, and it just emerges from behind Rogue and just baps her upside, like, just blindsides her. Like, where the fuck did that come from?
You're doing the robot chicken thing where he summons his trailer as his ultimate weapon.
So, as his trailer blindsides Rogue, he just has his axe and just knocks her into orbit, KO. Yes!
The reason Rogue wins this is I'm small, so I'm a small target, but I'm stronger than you. I'm also got 9 vulnerability. Can my energy absorption power work? I'm going to assume no, because you can't absorb Colossus or anything like that.
Right.
So I'm going to assume, like, maybe if she, like, ripped him open and then touched him, but then it's, like, electricity.
Yeah.
I'm going to say their physiology is probably too different that it probably doesn't work.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm a small target, but I can fly. I can hit harder, and probably, in my opinion, harder. And so yeah, it'd be like fighting Mighty Mouse, you know? You're like, just oh god damn. So yeah, I think Rogue, like Optimus Prime, is he tougher than? If it was Optimus Prime versus a Sentinel, I would totally say Optimus Prime. He'd just be like,
right,
shoot holes in it,
right.
But unfortunately, let's say he gets a shot off and he hits her, she's gonna be like, crash against the ground and just get up and be like, oh wow, sugar, and then throw down. Now, if they brought in support, then I still give it to Rogue, because then, like, it's like the X-Men,
right?
And versus like,
go Bumblebee.
Yeah. And yeah, like Wolverine just climbing some freaking thing, like slicing head. I just think the Transformers get owned here, like, no matter what we could do.
I still have to give it to my main man on the count. Did Robot Chicken think of it first? Maybe. I don't know. But just, while Optimus Prime is down, he's got one thing left, the thing that she never saw coming. And neither did anybody else, because out of nowhere, just smacks the shit out of her.
Who did he fight last? Who did Prime fight last?
The Flash.
Yeah, and he won that one. And my argument was he just sits outside of Star Labs, and then as he's like, "See you later, guys," I just like like
Okay, hear me out.
disguises himself as a truck.
Okay, so Professor Xavier opens up the school for like a festival, and you know how during like festivals they have the fire trucks that come out for the kids and
Yeah.
for people to come and crawl around in. He'll come grumbling up and park next to like the Tilt-A-Whirl or something because Professor X seems to have a limitless amount of money, so they can afford a nicely budgeted festival for the kids. They can be celebrating whatever, someone's mitzvah. So out comes Grumbles Optimus Prime, and because he's a robot in disguise, he just waits for the opportune moment for the photos to come. Because here's the kids that come up, they want to take photos, but they're not waiting for the kids. He's waiting for Rogue. So try to get Rogue into a photo shop, like a photo op inside the cabin. Maybe Wolverine's like, oh no, fucking Gambit will be like, oh hey sugar, why don't you sit up on this rig so old Gambit can take himself a photo. It's like, oh okay sugar, and she'll climb up there. Then that's when he springs a trap, because, all right, smile, sugar. Goes to take the picture, and Optimus Prime just, blah. The end.
But it's Rogue. But, I have 9 vulnerability.
So here's the thing about Transformers, though, is that with the G1 version, they call it, and this is how they can go from really big to really small, is they have the mass...
Yeah, the mass reduction.
The mass reduction thing. So he can just collapse his mass indefinitely and just consume her into like a black hole, conceivably. If he were to...
they're not that good, and I could just bust out on Rogue. And then punch your head off. Alright, well, can mass reduction defeat Rogue, or is she strong enough to just knock her way out of it? We'll put up the debate on Twitter, and you guys can vote, as well as on Facebook, as well as you can just message us and let us know.
And thanks for those voting on our Facebook polls. Love it. Oh, we get to roll for the...
On the next one. Alright, let's see. Too high. Still too high.
57, is that too high?
Yep. You have to roll under a 42.
I got a 7.
Let's see. So this is returning fighter Spider-Man versus the TMNT. I'm gonna. Ooh. Can I take the whole team, or do I have to take the? I mean, I'm going up against Spider-Man.
Oh, am I Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. No, I'd give you the whole team.
All right.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I can see this.
If I can only take one, I'll take Leonardo, but I mean, I'm gonna get crushed.
Right.
Unless I can find some powerful version of Leonardo.
he can just find like some leftover tech from Donatello.
Yeah, no, it's like, the time Leonardo got the Phoenix Force. I'll take that one.
Right. Yeah, so tune in next week for TMNT versus Spider-Man. That sounds awesome. You know what? I'll go
90s Spider-Man versus 90s TMNT.
I think that would be the best way to do it.
I don't know. I'll figure it out. Because I mean, comic book Spider-Man might be interested, but
right.
I don't know. I'll let you know later this week, and I'll announce our picks on Twitter as to who's fighting. And yeah, we'll go from there.
Right.
But like I said, we'll put up polls on Twitter and Facebook, as well as you can just let us know who you think wins. 90s X-Men Rogue versus 80s Optimus Prime, G1 Optimus Prime. And yeah, we'll go from there.
The trailer. The trailer's the key. That's the real trick.
All right. So what do we got left? Oh, we were going to discuss our pitches. So we're going to be doing Superman next. And we were going to talk about our ideas on what we'd like to see in a Superman movie.
Right.
So Do you have any ideas so far for your Superman
Yeah,
pick?
so I mentioned it on the previous show. So to me, if you really want to portray Superman, you need to portray the virtue and the hero, because he's homegrown Kansas, just farm boy. That is his core value. But he's this cosmic space alien with superpowers, and it's because of his virtue is what makes him this this champion for all that is good. So I wanted to pit him, and we see it now with the rise of AI generated shit. Just have an event take place where Superman is framed and he needs to be detained because he's suspect. So how do you arrest a god? And it's him letting the system work because he knows his innocence and he's choosing to relinquish his power to.
You're thinking a Superman movie based on him being in court?
Yes, but have the big Superman moment at the end where I was actually going to bring in like Bizarro, and it was Bizarro who was the one who was doing these actions, and because Bizarro has no virtue, he's a creation of Luther. There's no value there, and that's why he kind of became this uncontrollable monster type thing. And you have the climax be this fight between Superman of virtue and Bizarro, who's just a product with a portion of the power, and that's where the big fight is. So
I always find that robot chicken version of Bizarro because Bizarro talks backwards. You remember, like,
yeah,
if he says he hates something, it means he likes it.
right.
And he's like, "We think Paris Hilton's vagina smell very good." Because he's hanging out with her or something like. Robot chicken.
It's I
Um,
haven't watched Robot Chicken in so long. I don't know
yeah,
why.
yeah, me neither. But so I don't know. All right. So I guess my ideal Superman movie is like, okay. So basically, ignore the alien stuff
Hmm.
because the alien stuff is as alien to him as
It is
it
to
is
us.
to us. So have that come in later. Um, that sort of I was talking about how he's a metaphor for Moses a little bit online.
Hmm.
So Paul or Jor-El talking to him is sort of his burning bush moment.
Hmm.
Um, so then you're right. You want the virtue, which you want that to come purely from Ma and Pa Kent.
Hmm.
You want them to be like, yeah, this is the right thing to do. This is what we should do. The problem I have with him is he's a hard character to put on an arc.
Hmm.
And usually what people do is they test his morality. This has gotten into plenty of debates online with Snyder thing. I
Hmm.
actually think the problem with the Snyder movies is he folded. He did exactly what everybody else would do, and you could argue that that was the right thing to do,
Hmm.
and there is an argument for that. But like, if your morals are only there when it's easy
Hmm.
and when it's tested, like should he kill Zod or not,
Hmm.
and he just kills Zod, then his no kill thing is just it wasn't real. It never mattered, because he does it.
Right.
And that's I think where you many people are like, oh, some people deserve to die, and oh, what else was he gonna do? But I mean, it's like you take a character like Toy Man,
Right.
and it's like, well, he's just gonna bust out and kill more people, so should he just kill him too?
Right.
And where does it end? I know that's the slippery slope fallacy, but
It's sort of the thing with Batman, though, is
yeah, and the Joker,
and the
yeah, like
Joker,
they've
right?
argued should he kill the Joker and stuff, and that's the problem I see with him snapping Zod's neck. But yeah, so I don't know. So do I do what is my ideal Superman, or do I do more of like what I think Snyder did, or or what other people have done, where you're just like it's Superman, but it's fucking crazy. he's stuck on War World, and now it's like Conan Superman, and it's like,
That'd be
yeah, that
cool.
sounds cool. So I mean, like, I don't know. That's where I'm torn. Do I do this ideal version of what I think Superman is to me,
Hmm.
or do I do just I'm gonna take him and put him in a crazy scenario and do something crazy?
Right.
I don't know. I haven't decided. If I was to go for a villain, I'm leaning towards Toyman just because I think that's what the other thing you want to do is you want to make it so that it's never a question of can he win,
Right.
but like you have to raise the stakes some other way,
Right.
and that's hard to do. But I think like cared like they like did you ever watch One Punch Man? We were talking about anime
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
earlier. Yeah, it was never a question of can Saitama beat the bad guy,
Right.
but they managed to make stakes in there anyway.
Right.
And they also had an interesting arc with his character of, oh, he's so powerful, he's bored now.
Right.
I don't want to steal that, but like, what do you do as an arc for Superman? Like, what's his arc?
Well, so that's what I was trying to get into with my the framework for my pitch is you pit, and I like Luther because he's ideologically and it's just so antithesis of Clark Kent as a human, and just he's such a he's Superman's opposite ends, but have a way for to test these two things where you have Luther who's trying to smear Superman to make him look like, oh, he is the villain. That's a Luther thing to do. Um, but yeah, because you want to showcase that yes, Superman is an alien, he has his power, but you need to convey that he represents what is best for his for humanity. He's there to be
Well,
sort of
yeah, it's
protector.
because he was Ma and Pa Kent, and they put that in him, and
Right.
yeah, I agree. It's just
Now, see what I was going to do, or what I'm going to do is I'm going to
let's see.
sprinkle
That
in.
gets back to we're just testing his morality, like,
Right.
and that's what in Superman 1, they sort of did that with. I talked about this on Twitter, and it's like they okay, Superman 1. Okay, there's two nukes and they're going in either direction.
Right.
You can stop one, and like, which one is he going to stop? The one that's going to kill Lois and Jimmy, or the other one that's going to kill a town?
Mm-hmm.
And he promised this lady that he would, and that was the thing. And then in like, what's his name with Henry Cavill, Snyder Superman,
Mm-hmm.
it was like, okay, this guy's not going to stop unless you kill him. Are you going to kill him?
Right.
And and then the other morality thing was, is it right for him to save people?
Mm-hmm.
The bus, he saves the bus, and then, oh, what was I supposed to do? Let him die? And Pa Kent's like, maybe.
Right. You know what's sort of bubbling up in my head for like a courtroom type feel would be To Kill a Mockingbird, kind of sort of like have some uh, defense attorney acting as Superman's counsel, have him be almost like an Atticus Finch type character. I can see that sort of bubbling in my head.
Yeah, I mean, but the other thing is, do you have him fight someone that can fight back, like
Oh right, so
Dark
right,
Side or
so it'd
God
be
or someone like
Bizarro.
that?
So it'd be Bizarro.
Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah. So you're saying have a character that fights back, or do you put him against someone that he is just hopeless, like would be, and that's a lot of his villains. I always think of Superman as driving to work in the rain.
Right.
He's gonna get there. It's just a little annoying.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot you could do, and then obviously there's things like with you can have like with the Joker, like what he did to him, and Injustice,
Injustice.
which
Right.
is like, yeah, there's so many. He's such an interesting character, but I think he's such a hard character to write,
Mm.
which I think was where the challenge comes from. I actually found Batman really challenging for the same reason, because what arc do you have with Batman? Because typically the way I think is you have a character, they want something,
Mm-hmm.
they go on a journey to get that thing, they get it, but they lose something dear in the process.
Mm.
And then they become that master of both worlds, and then they return to where they began. The story circle Dan Harmon uses, I pretty much use that.
Mm.
And I just it's a he's a hard character to do that with, like Batman. With my Batman one, I made it so it was about his relationship with Nightwing and him needing help.
Right.
But Superman doesn't need help, you know.
Right.
And he's already like, oh, I can beat anything. So know, like,
So, in the framework of my pitch, have Bruce Wayne in it, but in the as like a background character. Have this take place before like the formation of the JLA. There's this new. Who's this man flying in the sky? What is this? Some type of alien, and have alluding to his presence. Have maybe he's the one that provides the counsel for Superman. Maybe he's just on the ground floor, just kind of surveying things. Maybe he's in court, something. He's a master. He can do disguises, so he can just disguise himself, get in there, hide, bug it, whatever. I want his presence. Sorry, I'm rambling. I like that.
Richard Pryor gets a computer.
That's awesome.
I don't know, man. It's funny because Superman 1 and 2 are really good. And then I liked Man of Steel. And then Superman's 3 and 4 were pretty bad. And what did you think of the one Superman Returns?
So I never saw it. It just didn't look like anything that just interested me at the time. I heard it was kind of boring. It was just more of
he was very emo in it. He doesn't throw a single punch, which was a criticism. They tried to do exactly what I was talking about. The plot was Luthor was trying to real estate or something again.
Business,
evil
business.
He stole the power of the the Kryptonian tech to make a giant thing of kryptonite or something. I can't remember. And then it also had to do with his son, because apparently him and Lois hooked up, and then he had a child.
Yeah.
Who throws a piano at a bad guy at one point. It wasn't great. I don't know though. He's such a challenging character to write. The more I think about good Superman stories, the more it's the one that always. There's two really great Superman stories that pop into my mind. One is For the Man Who Has Everything, which is where that plant was put on his chest.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of referenced it in my Pirates of the Blackwater pitch.
Yeah.
Where he goes into a fantasy realm, and Batman and Wonder Woman are there, and so is Robin, and Wonder Woman has to solo fight Mongol for a while. Yeah, it was really good.
That's awesome.
I loved it too, because Mongol's wow, you creatures are almost intelligent, and then Wonder Woman goes to punch Mongol, and then she just he's I wonder which one of you I should kill first. Then she punches him as hard as she can, breaks her hand on his jaw, and he goes, "Oh, I think you've answered my question." And grabs her head and just throws her. And
that's awesome.
Robin and Batman are studying the plant and stuff, and Robin's maybe we should go help, and Batman's you fucking kidding me? Wonder Woman just broke her hand on his jaw. What are we gonna do?
Right.
We're better here trying to get this plant off of him.
Right.
Because only one of us can fight this guy.
Right.
But yeah, that story, and then there's a story about it's mostly about Luthor trying to figure out who Superman really is.
Right.
And he's got this computer and stuff, and they beat up Lana Lang because they think she might know. And then at the end of the episode, the computer runs all the data, and it's Clark Kent is Superman. And then his tech lady is oh my god, it's so obvious. I can't believe I never realized it before. And he's no. If you're an idiot and a computer, I could see why a computer would think that, but no god would pretend to be just some random ass reporter.
Right.
And then he fires the girl that like designed the computer, and he's like, "Yeah, get your stuff and get out of here." Um, yeah,
uh,
it was such a good story. Yeah, and like it explained a lot. That's where like we're like, oh, 'cause they had like little robots following him around, recording him,
mm,
and he was like vibrating at super speed, so they couldn't get his appearance and stuff like that.
right.
And yeah, it was really. And then he destroys them and they blow up. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
But those are two of the most well-known Superman stories.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that's what I mean though. Those are both stories where they built the stakes and they had interesting twists,
Right.
and they
Well,
still allowed
again,
Superman to be
it's
powerful.
different ways. What avenue do you want to explore with Superman? Do you want to explore the brah, or do you want to explore the more, it's called the political aspect of it, which both work because both are the character.
Yeah, or do like I said, do you pull like Superman versus aliens? You
Yeah,
know, do
yeah.
you do crazy? I mean, that actually
Just
happened.
dump out the toy box. See, that's an option though. It's Superman.
Yeah, they always depower him when they do that, and that's what they did. It was like, oh, he's not at full strength, and
Yeah.
because I read that, like when I saw that comic as a kid, I was like, what do you mean Superman versus Alien? This is like the world's most one-sided fight.
Right.
But he was depowered a little bit, but he was still Superman, so he had all his powers, but just not as much.
Right.
And then yeah, I remember the alien. He's like trying to talk to it, and then he throws it against the wall. He's like, "Well, I destroyed it," but then it like bleeds acid into his eyes, and then like it hits him in the face with the jaws,
Mm.
and then some chick comes out with a flamethrower and burns it. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of those in like Batman versus Predator. Like,
Is that where he beats Predator with a baseball bat
yeah,
in an
yeah, he
alley?
fought it a couple of times.
Right.
It was cool though.
Yeah, it's fucking cool. Cool as fuck comment. He fought more than one, didn't he? Or he beat up the one and then more showed up, and it was.
That was yeah. Well, I think they did it in a couple of times where he goes up against Predator.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I'm not sure yet. I'm exploring the angles, but I guess we'll have our pitches up next week. Yeah, hopefully they're good. I find this one is a hard one, but I think I'll churn out something good. It's just where do you go? What's the hero's journey with a character that is basically perfect? He's got like perfect virtue, and he's in my mind he should have too,
Right, and that's the
and
thing.
he's un unless you like throw dark side at him, he's gonna win. You know,
Right.
like
Well, that's why I'm going Bizarro because it's the same, like similar power, but without the virtue. It's
okay.
it's we're arguing about the power. If somebody has this power, what do they do with it? This person is choosing to live a virtuous life and protect us, while this one is acting with malicious. It doesn't know its own strength, its power. That is the problem.
I like the thing in Injustice where it was like, what's his name, Captain? Oh God,
Adam.
Captain Adam, is
Yeah,
that his name?
was that the one that went into his
No. The one with the energy powers in the suit. I'm blanking on his name, but the old ladies aren't awake yet. But he's like, yeah, the one that's in the military, and he's like, yeah, the government has run simulations. I can handle him. And then it like cuts to like Superman and with his hand around his throat,
right.
and you're like, yeah, it looks like you handled him all right. Like, it's because it can
Superman.
channel radiation. He can channel red
Hmm.
radiation, solar radiation.
Hmm.
And I guess in theory he should be able to do kryptonite too, but he didn't. So I mean that is the one thing also is you can throw kryptonite at him and weaken him. But it's
Yeah,
so
that's
boring.
boring, right?
Yeah,
So
like
the one my one exception to that is Metallo. I've always liked Metallo as a character. I think it's cool having like a Terminator with a kryptonite core. That's fun. Um, but yeah, other than that, I don't really like the
Metallo's scary too. Like when you see him, he's just like his face half burnt off,
yeah.
and then later he learns how to transform his body and stuff, and Like I remember him going up against Steel, and he's like, "Well, let the best alloy
Alloy,
win." And
yeah,
destroying
that was
Steel.
great. Uh,
I mean, like, well, okay, so we've talked about the Snyder stuff a lot. So, I mean, obviously, there's three things I think that we see debated mostly on Twitter and stuff,
mhm.
which is the neck snap, the Martha scene. Well, four things: the death of Pa Kent, and in regards to Pa Kent, the that kind of like, well, what should I have done? Let them die? Maybe. Like,
No,
what are your thoughts on that as far as Snyder's Superman?
uh, that that took me out of the movie. It was so
Well,
weird.
let's start with the beginning. So, snapping the neck. Do you think you should have snapped the neck? Were you in favor of that? Were you against
No,
it?
so if Superman breaks, it would need to be more than that. Like something like Injustice when
Well, the question that mostly I see put forth is, what was he supposed to do? Because he
right.
couldn't. Yeah, how else was he supposed to stop Zod?
I don't have Superman powers in the moment. I don't know. Maybe it could have just flown up, like grab him or
Well, yeah, I mean, as far as like,
frost breath. There,
as
final
far
answer.
as like, because he's got him in a headlock and Zod. I mean, in terms of just that, he could have super jumped and gone up,
Right,
and then like, or just like, hey, family, get out of the way. Like,
right. Doc, family, please, Doc. Oh, but
yeah,
frost
but the
breath.
question is like, how is he going to stop Zod though? Long term, because Zod's going to keep fighting and trying to kill all the people on Earth
Right.
unless he kills him.
No, you
So
just
whether
throw him
it
back in the
gets down
Phantom
to a
Zone.
laser blast,
Right.
the thing is, I don't know, but like, you could write something and then people are saying, "Well, that's stupid because him always finding a way is stupid." But I always compare it to No Way Home, and No Way Home, a similar thing. Is it you can where you can change lanes and run this guy over? The death of one saves more people.
Right.
Any anybody in that situation, do I kill Zod or do I not kill Zod?
Mm.
Is going to kill Zod because that's the right answer. But what makes him him is he's not going to do it. He's gonna put everything he can into stopping Zod without
Right.
killing him.
Right. And dump his ass
And
back in the Phantom Zone.
yeah, I mean, obviously that's one thing, and I think that's why it was jarring for some people like me and you.
Right.
It's because it felt like okay, and other people are going, "Oh, it's more realistic and everything." I'm like, yeah,
I
but
get it. I get it. But
he's doing what everyone else would do,
right.
and but that's the whole thing. Is he's supposed to be better than us?
Right.
And yeah, and that's why I think like when they similar issue, do I kill the villain, send him back to his time, or do I not and try and rehabilitate the villain, which is like something no one would do.
Mm.
And that's why I think No Way Home trolley problem sort of comparison. It's better because he lost May because of he lost everything. You could even argue that it made more sense morally just to send him back, but he kept his virtue. He didn't kill them, you know?
Right. I actually just thought of the great ending to my pitch.
Okay.
Yes. All right. For next week. Ooh, God,
Uh,
I love Luthor. I love Lex Luthor. Like I would have fun writing for somebody like Luthor.
yeah, I didn't like Jesse Eisenberg or whatever his name is.
Oh
Luther. I
God.
thought that was a pretty
Ah,
poor Luther.
grumble, grumble, grumble. Um,
Um, but
Jean.
yeah, so I mean, yeah, so it sounds like you're like me as well. That you didn't like the not didn't like, but you would have preferred Pa Kent to be like helping people with the right thing rather than oh we shouldn't help people because what if people find out you're Superman?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like I get it. I can see why people like it. It's just to me that doesn't feel like Superman.
What do you think of the death of Pa Kent? Because I think Superman one handled it
That
better, where it was a heart attack.
yeah, it
Because it kind of
was
teaches him like no matter what, how powerful
it
you
was
are,
unavoidable, right?
yeah, you're not going to be able to save him from a heart attack.
Right, and this felt like something that could have been just really. He could have moved in plank seconds, just boop like that, and nobody would have known. He could have
I mean, even if you could argue, oh well, he's not as powerful in the movie, and also like the whole, like if you did that, you might rip him in half.
I
Like,
mean,
although his aura protects people in the
right,
comics,
right,
but uh, he is powerful enough, and tornadoes are weird enough that he could have grabbed him and just flown off into the tornado, and then like, oh, what happened? Oh, I just set us down. We weren't hurt.
right.
Tornadoes are weird. They do stuff
They
like
they,
that.
they
They'll
do
rip
weird
the
shit.
engine out of a truck and not damage the truck.
Right,
They drive straw through trees, without breaking the straw.
right,
You could explain it away. It would be weird, but it wouldn't be like unheard of.
right,
And also, like, yeah, I mean, you could have him run over and save him and just be like, oh, we're fighting the wind,
right.
and been like, I'm holding on to this thing, and like, oh no. And he's just like, yeah, this isn't hard at all, really.
Right.
And people, even then, people might be like, well, that's weird, but it's not big enough to like out him.
Right, right, right.
Um,
Huh, I never
so
thought of it like that. Just fake it.
yeah, like, I mean, I think he could have done that, but whatever.
Right. No, I
Uh,
can see that easily. Like, just fake it. Like, oh no, the wind's so strong, guys, run, get out of here, guys,
yeah.
no, look at me,
Oh
no,
no, we're being blown behind this convenient tree where
oh
nobody can see
no.
us. Don't worry, Dad, I got you.
Like, it just, anyways,
But I don't know. So like, yeah, the death of Pa Kent, I think it was just handled better as a heart attack.
right.
Did I like the movie overall? Yeah, I did. I thought it was cool, especially some of the fight scenes.
Fight scenes would save that movie.
But yeah, like, do I think that I enjoyed Snyder's movies? I can see why people love Snyder's movies. And I think you're totally. I'm not trying to say, oh, that he didn't understand Superman. I think he just likes a version of Superman.
Mm,
And like we've kind of talked about with Batman, there's so many different versions.
right,
I think you can say the same thing with Superman. People have all written their own takes on the character.
right.
This idea that there's one true version is just whatever.
No, I think at this point it's just an amalgam.
Yeah, I mean, I do think though, like, because so we talked about this a little bit. Snyder likes to hit you so hard with his metaphors,
Hmm.
and that's part of his signature, and I'm fine with that. But making him this Messiah savior character, I was fine with, but you could have achieved that and referenced more of the Moses element to the character
Hmm.
rather than like, I am Jesus, I am Jesus, I am Jesus. I
Right.
mean, like, he's like doing the cross shape, him being 33, which is when Jesus was like, started doing stuff in the Bible, and like, there's so many things like that, and you're just like, wow, not subtle at all, which I don't know. But I did enjoy the movie. I do like the movies.
Mm.
We got about 15 minutes left. So it was Star Wars Day on May 4th.
May the 4th.
Did you do anything for that? Or do you like Star Wars Day? I mean, I've heard
I
you grumble about it in the past, so
I'm a crotchety old Star Wars fan. It is. I feel like May the 4th used to mean something other than.
you sound so.
So
Back in my day, May the 4th.
Here's the thing: May the 4th was a simple holiday where nerds can just quietly celebrate Star Wars, its gift to the world. And then the mouse comes along and says, "Ooh, May the 4th!" Yeah. And then, boy, do they just saturate the market with everything.
I don't care. I think it's fine.
Oh, but it's the price tag, Frosty. That's just what
Yeah, but
infuriates
having
me.
a day where we all get together and make Star Wars beams and Star Wars dominates the internet. I think it's fun.
That's what they
I have no
want.
problem with it. Uh, Give me more. Like I'm happy. I
So,
like the. Okay, so I did see this thing. If you were to, I think we were talking about it on our group chat.
mm,
Uh, if you had to rank the Star Wars movies, the 9,
Yes.
what order would you put them in?
Okay, so we going best to worst. All right,
Yeah,
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 so
yeah.
best to
Bet
worst.
like your top down to the
All
worst.
right, so from best to worst, Empire Strikes Back,
Okay, yeah,
A New Hope, Return
yeah.
of the
That's
Jedi.
I agree with you there. Yeah, the Return of the
Return of
Jedi.
the
Yeah.
Jedi. Phantom Menace.
Oh, okay. I don't agree. That's where our number. That's where we disagree.
It just it's I've learned to love it, but through my own cheeky way because it's a terrible movie. But it's just I found I made peace with Phantom Menace. It's my number one guilty
there
pleasure
are.
movie.
I do believe that you can take any Star Wars movie and there's cool stuff in it.
Right,
It doesn't matter which one, even the ones that like people don't like. I think
right,
there's something to admire in it.
right. Let's
Like
see.
Phantom Menace, the pod racing scene was cool,
Right,
and Darth Maul was cool. The final battle with Darth Maul was cool when except for the very end. And then when Darth Maul first shows up, and yeah, I thought that was cool. Like when you first see him go against what's his face?
who?
Oh, help me out, man.
Darth Maul, Sidious.
Yeah, when
No,
Darth Maul
Grievous,
first
Grievous.
fights. Yeah,
Oh,
the very first fight you see him in.
oh, Qui Gon.
Yeah, when he fights Qui Gon Jinn, yeah, like that, you're like, wow, he's like so much more animal than Vader ever was, you
Right.
know.
So,
And
it,
and it's the first time we saw the double lightsaber, you know. So there's a lot of cool stuff in
yeah.
it.
So,
Yeah, the Duel of Fates. I mean, the music was epic.
all right, Frosty, I'm going to spend the next 12 minutes listing my order of favorite Star Wars. So,
12 minutes.
just
I get to
hear
throw
me
in.
out. No, hear me out. So, if I were to take the Star Wars and just rank it, so Empire Strikes Back, phenomenal movie. Sees the rebellion at their lowest. The characters are at their lowest. It's a wonderful movie. A New Hope sets up the universe. Love New Hope. Return of the Jedi. I love it. I know you don't like the Ewoks, and I get it, but it gave us up until that point one of the best space battles we've ever seen ever, and it was just epic. It was so epic. Um, Phantom Menace, guilty pleasure movie. Star Wars Holiday Special. Gotta love the Holiday Special. It just holds dear to me. Surprising shocker number 6 is actually going to be Rogue One. I think it.
I wasn't counting that in the list, but okay.
No, this is my Star Wars. So you have Rogue One at number 6. Lovely. Again, it's the epic battle. I think that's what every Star Wars needs. It's just that epic, just that the epicness of it with a good John Williams score. It's just everything feels just big and big. Um,
Yeah, I know, but it's not part of the core, movies. But
right,
okay,
but
go on.
I'm going. This is let's see where I leave off Rogue One. Hardware Wars. The if you've never seen
Okay,
it,
now you're really going off.
no. Then followed by the
I don't even know what Hardware Wars is. Like,
you'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll kiss $3 goodbye. Hardware Wars. Then coming in next at number 8 is Spaceballs. Gotta love Spaceballs.
but
Then,
now you're not even in the same freaking like
just hear me out, because there's a lot of Star Wars, and I know what you're thinking.
references.
Well,
but I mean,
Cap, where does The Last Jedi fall on this ranking? Well, I'll let you know after we get past my number 9 pick, which is a 1978 Underoos commercial for Star Wars Underoos.
no, okay, too much. No, sorry, I reject this. I'll go. Okay, here's my opinion. It goes Empire, New Hope, Return of the Jedi. I agree with you there. Then my fourth slot, I'm actually gonna go with Force Awakens.
Okay.
I think Force Awakens was fine. It was, yeah, it's a retelling, but it was, if at the time it felt like Star Wars was back.
A little bit.
And I remember after the movie ended, people were clapping and and it felt good.
Right.
And I actually think Force Awakens is not bad. Do I think it's great? No, but I think it's not bad. Then I would go with what is it? Episode 3. What was that one called?
Phantom Menace. Oh,
No,
no, no. Oh, hold on.
Revenge of the
Revenge of
Sith.
the Sith. Yep.
Yeah, that movie was actually pretty decent as well. It had some awesome fight stuff at the end, like that really long lightsaber battle, and Yoda like throwing the Senate and around, and like
Right.
it was cool.
That's cool.
Then Phantom Menace, yeah, because it had a couple of cool things. Now we're getting into the to the dregs. I'm gonna go with
The Ewok Adventure, followed closely by
No, I'm gonna
Star
go
Wars
with
droids.
Revenge. I'm just talking the core ones. I'm gonna go with what was it? The Last Jedi, the seven.
Yeah.
Or is that eight? That's eight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Because this gets panned all the time. That giant fight, throne room battle, but they're trust me, like they plan. You have main characters, main actors. They don't use stunt people because you see their faces the whole time in this big throne room brawl. They're not going to be as good. It's going to be messy, but to achieve that is impressive in and of itself. And I think they did some interesting things. Like, oh, who's her parents? Who cares? The passing of the baton. Whoop, like, so I do think there was some interesting things there. Then I guess episode 2, the Clone Wars, because some of the Clone Wars stuff was cool. The love story aspect of it was kind of lame.
Cringe.
Although I do love that bit, like, Anakin, we can't be together. Like, and he's like, oh yeah, it's just like, I'm a senator, Anakin, like pressing his face in her boob. Like, I wish we could be together, but we can't. Like,
that was a fantastic Natalie Portman, by the way. Wow.
Yeah, and then the very worst one would be the finale, which I understand why they went that route, and I think they're using Mandalorian and
to
stuff
like
to fix
flesh it all out. Yeah.
Yeah, but it didn't. I was like, who cares at this point? Like,
Right.
Ray kissing what's his name, Kylo Ren. I was just like, why? There was romance between you together.
Yeah.
Like yeah. It all fell apart.
Right.
But yeah, that would be my ranking. But what's your guys' ranking? Like, where do you guys think? Honestly, if I'm being totally honest, I would go 5, 4, 6, and then start watching Mandalorian after that.
just don't look. Yeah, I need to sit fellow nerd Dan down once the man cave is rebuilt and have him watch the original Star Wars. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to have him watch A New Hope, the original cut, or the VHS cut before the special edition, and then have him watch the same movie but on Disney Plus with all the new shit added in, and see what his thoughts are.
Do you ever see like Leonardo DiCaprio? Like, apparently he's got his own like Star Wars like theater in his house, and he took some girl on a date, and he was like, they watched Star Wars where they ran around like enacting the scenes with lightsabers. I think he had a lightsaber for her too.
Right.
She was like, it was the worst date ever. I was like, that's the best date ever. Like,
I want to be gay.
Yeah.
I think that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I would totally go out with him for that.
Right. I'll wear the dress.
But yeah, no, I don't know. I think that like that's why I like May the 4th. Like, we have this like day where we just celebrate these movies and what they mean to us,
right?
And we can make all these silly memes and stuff. Are you gonna play the upcoming video game? It's coming. I think it's already out.
Yeah, it's out. So I haven't fired up my PlayStation 3 in forever. I'm sorry, my PS4 in forever. I need to upgrade to my PS5.
You can buy them now. They're actually
they're available. I just haven't been gaming because I've been doing a lot of writing, but eventually I will get one. It's just on a low priority.
The last one I played, it reminds me a lot of Zelda, but Star Wars.
Yeah.
People love it. This it did get review bombed though. I can't remember why.
Why?
I can't remember it. Stuff gets review bombed.
Twi'lek was woke. No woke Twi'leks in my Star Wars.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know. I might buy it. I might play it. I'm debating.
I enjoyed the
I'm
first
in
one.
the
Just the combat's
minority.
clunky.
Well, it's not clunky. It's just you have to. It's like if you sit down and play Tekken
Yeah,
back in the
it's
day,
right.
it feels clunky, but then you see someone that knows how to use that combat, and they're flowing through it like water. And
Right.
I think that that's the same thing. Once you like at first you're like this is a little clunky, and then you learn how to fight with it.
Right.
I did enjoy the video of Mark Hamill training the
Oh,
actor. Did you
so
see
good. So good.
that?
Uh,
He's like, yeah, let the force flow through you and stuff, talking to him like he's an actual
right.
Jedi.
God,
I
gotta
don't
love that
know.
guy.
So what's your most hated Star Wars film then? Of the actual nine.
Last Jedi. Or was
Really?
so
You
whatever.
think that's worse than whatever the last one was called? What was the
So
last one called?
so it was Rise. Yeah, so it was the Last Jedi, the
Rise of
Rise of Skywalker.
Skywalker, yeah.
The and I've been so conflicted about this, and I know in other once I hit that 30-year nostalgia, I can look back and be like, it still sucked. So it it just I feel like it just didn't understand Star Wars. It didn't understand what made a good Star Wars character. It felt like they didn't have anything planned and just sort of set three sheets to the wind and just saw wherever wherever it would take them. I can understand Ryan Johnson why he didn't want to be a repeat of Empire Strikes Back, but when we first started doing Pitch Nerds, I have the whole retelling of the trilogy done with the same characters and the way I would have handled the second movie. But again, it's how you would treat the legacy actors because it is the Skywalker saga. So you still need to have them in more of a prominent role, but have them be more of the like the wisdom figures. It was kind of criminally underused in these movies. I think Luke was.
I don't know. I think if you've got those, I would have. I mean, if you came to me, well, like we the whole point of the show, and I guess this is why we started with Star Wars. I would have just said the Skywalker story's been told. It ended with Return of the Jedi, and I mean, maybe have him come on as like sort of what they did, where he was teaching
Mm,
as a teacher. I understand setting up a Jedi Academy. I understand teaching, but I would have. They are myth. They
right,
are legend.
right.
Here's something new. Um, and I mean, my pitch was I went to that Order 66 and
Mm,
I was telling that story. But if I were trying to tell a story post Return of the Jedi, I wouldn't have like gone that route where everything's connected to them.
mm,
I would have like, here's the story of a new Jedi, or something like that. I don't know.
right.
And I also think it's a big enough universe at that point you can kind of like what we've seen with the Mandalorian go to a different culture.
Mm,
Okay, we've done Jedi's. Now here's a story about Mandalorians.
right.
And I mean, I assume there's other cultures and other things that are just as interesting as Jedi and Mandalorian that we could explore.
Mm.
I mean, you're the Star Wars expert. Like, what's a culture that you would like to see explored?
We kind of saw a little glimmer of it in I think Book of Boba Fett, but the Mon Calamari because
Okay.
their planet they actually share with I think it's oh my goodness, it starts with an A. It's the other aquatic Star Wars monsters, the ones that look more kind of less fit, like more squid fishy, I guess.
Hmm.
Like if I were to point to one, I forget their name, but the Aqualish, I think. No, not the Aqualish, but they share the same planet, and there's a lot of political toil there because one's supporting the Empire and the other one's definitely not supporting the Empire, and one lives above, one lives in the trenches. It's interesting. Um,
Droids would be interesting because they have bars and stuff they hang out. We found out, and like they sentient? Are they not sentient? And then there's obviously like battle droids, and I don't mean battle droids specifically. I mean droids built for battle.
hmm,
And yeah, I think there's a interesting amount of stuff you could do there.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, like explore other cultures, explore other things besides Jedi. I mean, we could like and make. I guess they sort of did this with Andor, but not quite. But you could have more of a Han Solo style series that's about being a smuggler.
Right.
Like and what that's like. And yeah, stuff like that. Anyway, well, I guess we're at the end of the show. But what did you guys do for May 4th? Do you like May 4th? Make sure to tune in next week for our Superman pitches. Watch The Mask, and then come and talk about it with us, or just message us and let us know your
Vote
thoughts.
for Battle Nerds.
And then Battle Nerds, which is going to be, well, who do we roll again? I didn't write it down.
Oh, it was oh my goodness, returning champion Spider-Man versus Ninja Turtles.
Spider-Man versus Ninja Turtles,
Yes.
which will be interesting. And we'll announce on our social medias which versions we're going with. I want to give it some thought because I got to go up against Spider-Man.
Go Rhodey.
You're like Cosmic Spider-Man, damn it.
I think this would make a really interesting like comic or like one of those like cash grab animated movies.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
direct to
yeah.
Disney Plus.
Kind of like the recent Batman versus Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
That was actually surprisingly good, I thought.
Right.
But you knew you were just waiting for Batman to go cowabunga,
Right. Just eating the pizza.
Yeah. And then like Robin, can I have some pizza? Okay. And then they're like, Anyway, but tune in for Ninja Turtles versus Spider-Man. And also find out the results for Optimus Prime versus Rogue. We'll put the polls up. You guys can vote. And then every week we always do nerdy news. And then let us know if there's anything else you guys want us to discuss we didn't discuss. Yeah, anything you want to add before we bounce?
No. It was my birthday. I'm 40 now. I feel old.
Happy birthday, Cap.
Yay. So
also, this is our 101th episode, so there's that to celebrate. So lots of celebrations.
Yay.
The big 4-0, you doing anything?
So, no, just fellow nerd Dan came over. We went to this little speakeasy down the street. Been just writing and working, really. It's sort of the circle now. But yeah, I think today it's me and the Squirt.
So yeah, actually, you made quite a bit of progress with your website and lore and everything. When do you think you'll put it up so that nerds can start looking at it and reading through some of your lore?
So I'm going to try to get something by this week. I have a way to just remove the chunk and just have the intro just separate from everything. So, because I don't want people clicking around because there's shit there. It's just a lot of it's not done yet. So it's just a lot of rough drafts, and then like some drafts that are better than other drafts, and then just complete just garble, and then nonsense noises followed by like, that's actually really well written. So it's in pieces.
I saw your debate with Dan as to units of measurement. I just kind of I read your units of measurement and went, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's whatever. I try not to think about it. That's my answer.
All right.
But
well, also I was gonna say if you guys can if you haven't done, subscribe. If you click that little notification bell, any of it makes our day. Yeah, I know you I hate begging for it, but like if you like it and or you just want to make us smile, please do. It's awesome when it happens.
I will show you my boobs. Anyways, we like to end the show with a nerdy quote by Mr. Frosty. Mr. Frosty, lead us away.
All right. Money? Is that all you people care about? You'll do whatever it takes to turn a buck, won't you? Why, next you'll be telling me that you're changing the color of the Hulk, making everyone into Skrulls, and completely doing away with Spider-Man's blank. All this just to sell a few more copies? Why isn't someone keeping an eye on you degenerates?
Good night, everybody.